Joe, thank you. Let's get to a major story that has a lot of people talking in the district and beyond this morning.
That's right. We are now hearing from Janeese Lewis George after President Donald Trump threatened a federal takeover of D.C. if she wins the mayoral race. Here's what both sides had to say.
Well, I wouldn't like it, and maybe we'd take back Washington, run it on the federal basis. We won't put up with it.
I think that this moment is just one of the many reasons why voters should trust that I am someone that means what I say when I say I'm going to defend D.C. residents and protect our values.
George is running a Zohran Mamdani campaign.
Joining us now is former federal prosecutor and legal analyst Ankush Khardori. Thank you so much for being here. He's going to break down the impact President Trump's comments could have on the D.C. mayoral race, and just how real the threat of a federal takeover could be in the district. Good morning to you.
Morning.
So I wanted to begin with that. We know the president cannot eliminate D.C. home rule, right? He needs congressional approval. So in layman's terms, how tangible is this threat?
Well, I think it's something worth taking seriously simply because this president has blown through a lot of laws. Right. You just consider most readily, the global tariffs that this administration implemented last year, which were completely illegal and ruled illegal by the Supreme Court. This is an administration that has not had, sadly, much compunction about actually just violating laws passed by Congress. That said, were it to come to pass, I think we've now, over a year and change into this administration, can predict with some, meaningful confidence what would happen. It would get challenged in the courts. I think the administration would lose, and the administration would probably sort of quietly back off. That's kind of the pattern we saw, with the ramp up with the National Guard and federal law enforcement, last year. Things peaked, and then once there were sort of some legal challenges, things kind of settled down, and we're back to something more like normalcy, though not quite the National Guard still on our streets.
With that said, though, we do still see guardsmen on the streets. We lived through the federalization of the local police department, MPD. So I guess my question is, what could D.C. home rule realistically look like if this decision did come down?
You mean, meaning if Trump were to actually try to go through with this?
Exactly, right. Well, I'm saying,
Yeah.
I'm saying that it looks like that the infrastructure we've seen it in the past with MPD. We see guardsmen still on the street here. What could this transition, what could it really look like for residents of D.C.?
I think it would be very, very messy. I think it would even be messier than what you're describing, because there is at least a sort of a bit of a framework around how to divide labor among law enforcement officials in the district and the federal government. So where there's some law for the courts to work with. This would be just a total effort to come in and override a law passed by Congress. So I think the result in the short term would be chaos. Right? We would be wondering who's running this government. It would probably effectively be the federal government simply because of their much more expansive resources and manpower. But in that period of time, while it would be working its way through the courts, it would be chaos, I think, and it would be very bad for the district. It would make matters even worse than they already are and have become under this administration. So you're exactly right to sort of observe that even if there's sort of a legal mechanism to sort of tamp things down eventually, even if the threat and even attempting to follow through on it would be extremely disruptive.
Let's extrapolate this out. I'm curious what you think the president's statements, what kind of impact it will have on campaigns like Kenyon McDuffie's chances, also specifically Janeese Lewis George's chances as well. Curious on both fronts, who will benefit, who may not.
Yeah, this is one of those very peculiar things because ordinarily, right, if you had the president attacking you, that would not be a helpful thing. In this case, I think, Ms. George is doing the politically adept thing, which is to say, well, he's coming after me because he's scared of me and he's scared what'll happen if I win. By the same token, McDuffie, may want that same level of attention, but I'm sure he's going to be saying, look, I'm not a socialist. You're not going to have this problem. We're going to have a constructive relationship with the federal government while we also preserve our rights. So if I'm Ms. George, and I think we've seen this already, she was sort of trying to appropriately capitalize on it in political terms. But I think that there's another side of this, which is, do we really need this kind of antagonism? And say what you will about who's right or wrong, this should not be a reason to vote for someone anyone the fact that the president is lobbing these irresponsible threats and trying to insert himself into our government. DC residents should vote for the person who they think will serve their interests and serve the district. And I just strongly feel like they should not be influenced by these kinds of threats by Trump, who is intending to interfere in the election.
It's former federal prosecutor and legal expert Ankush Khardori. Thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And DC's primary is Tuesday. Early voting ends this Sunday. We want to make sure that you are ready to vote. Text the word vote to 202-895-5599 for our DC voter guide. It'll have information on the candidates and how ranked choice voting works. And WUSA 9 is your home for election night coverage. We'll bring you live results, analysis, and reaction as the votes are counted. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. and continues the next morning on WUSA 9 mornings. Keep in mind, we'll be tracking final results, but it could take a few days because of DC's ranked choice voting system.